Welcome to all of you. Today, the video will be on Egyptian civilization. The chapter number is 3 and the subheading of the chapter is 2. Therefore, 3.2 Egyptian civilization. Before knowing a bit about Egyptian civilization, a geographical introduction we will have. Probably Egyptian civilization would be the first civilization developed on the surface of the earth, as the belief of most of the historians and archaeologists. This Egyptian civilization developed on the northern banks of River Nile. So, Egyptian civilization developed on the rich alluvial flat soil of the River Nile. Egypt is on the northern part of African continent. Exactly, it is on the northern part of African continent. It has a geographical accessibility to Europe and as well as to Asia. Accessibility means contact, availability. The impenetrable desert on the east, south, and the west, the three sides, east, south, and the west, is completely covered by the Sahara Desert, and the north, covered by Mediterranean Sea, provided natural barrier or defense to Egypt. Overall, it is surrounded by natural barriers which provided an isolation from the rest of the world, as well as it was a great advantage of being unusually safe from the attack of enemies, barbarians, etc. So it developed a unique civilization in Egypt. The people developed a unique civilization in Egypt. Egyptian civilization was one of the long-standing and rich civilization known to the present world. The next question that comes to our mind is, Egypt civilization would not have developed without River Nile. It is said, Egypt called the gift of River Nile. Egypt or Egyptian civilization is called the gift of River Nile. Nile River, flowing northward, has formed the fertile plain of 15 to 20 kilometers on both the sides or on either side. On both the sides of the river, you will see, I have marked in green, you see both the sides, 50 to 20 kilometers of flat, fertile plain. And you should observe the river is flowing towards north to the Mediterranean Sea. The river Nile takes birth in the thick equatorial forest of African continent, and it flows throughout the year, flows full throughout the year. Therefore, it is a perennial river and one of the longest river in the world. The longest river in the world is River Nile. The flowing throughout the year, River Nile provides plenty of food for human beings as well as fodder. Fodder is the food for animal, and uninterrupted supply of water for irrigation as well as for agriculture, domestic purpose, made possible to develop a good, luxurious civilization. The food security provided sufficient leisure for the growth of civilization, made the civilization richer and long-lasting. Therefore, we can conclude Nile would not have been there, Egyptian civilization have not developed. To state it very clearly, for the Nile, Egyptian civilization would not have developed. Without Nile, Egyptian civilization would not have developed. Therefore, Egyptian civilization is called the gift of river Nile. A bit we will know about this Egyptians, the origin of these Egyptians. It is generally believed that they belong to a group of Caxanian or the white race people who migrated from the northern Europe. These people of Egypt have migrated from Europe, and these are not black people, are white people who developed this civilization. It is the belief. And how do we know about this Egyptian civilization? Details about the civilization. What are the sources to know about this civilization? That would be the next that emerges our mind. It was a great civilization which began 7,000 years ago. It continued for more than 3,000 years. We have a varieties of archaeological sources as well as literary sources. These archaeological sources as well as literary sources help us to reconstruct the history of those times. Let us see some of the archaeological sources, or what are the archaeological sources that help us to know about Egyptians. The first one that comes to our mind is pyramids, the temples, the innumerable sculpture images. Innumerable means plenty or many, uncountable images like sculpture of Phoenix that we will see in the coming time. It has a lion body and the head of a man. Host of paintings, many paintings, various implements, tools, jewelries, etc. all have been hidden in the heart of Egyptian pyramids, have gives us archaeological sources to know about Egyptian civilization. The literary sources, namely the hieroglyphic writings on the papyrus, the Rosetta Stone's inscription, etc., are also the source to know about this civilization. All these have come to the light of the modern world when Napoleon invaded Egypt between 1798 to 1802. When Napoleon invaded Egypt, you remember that era or the time is 1798 to 1802. That time, when Napoleon saw these huge pyramids, he called for his archaeologists and historians to make a study of this place. There, they discovered an Egyptian civilization which is older than any civilization of this world, which is dated back to 7,000 years from now, and which existed 4,000 years before. This mammoth, great civilization has a deep history, and the Rosetta Stone inscription that is found in the British Museum speaks thousands of things about the civilization. A person named Francis Champollion, a French historian who has done a lot of work on the Egyptian civilization, has given enough of remarks on this civilization. We will end a small and a brief introduction about this civilization.